And yes, we're back. Episode 95, if you could believe it. So in this episode, you're going to learn 3 different things. You're going to learn what gain is and what volume is and how those things correlate to each other. And then I'm going to teach you how to dial in the proper gain level for your microphone so that you get a clean, robust sound and that your voice sounds full and there's minimal noise. That's going to be important because in 2024, you've got to have clean audio, and I'm going to teach you how to achieve that. Okay, so gain versus volume. What are they? How are they important? And how do you optimize them? Well, gain is the level of input of your audio, and it controls how strong your mic is going to pick up your voice or your instrument or whatever you put in front of it. So XLR microphones need to be plugged into some kind of amplifier. If you have an XLR microphone, chances are it's plugged into an audio interface. And within that audio interface, there's a control to crank up the gain of the microphone. And to make it simple, like think about the more I turn up the gain, the more sensitive this mic is going to get. And so it's going to start picking up my voice at a much higher, stronger level. And so I'm cranking it right now. This is the gain. See, it's distorted. This is the gain at 100%. So I'm going to need to back it off. I'm talking at the same level, my voice, my projection, but I'm just changing the amount of power in the microphone, so to speak. Okay, so I'll dial it back to like where it was, which is right about here. And that's gain. So it's basically going to boost the level that your microphone picks up sound at. USB microphones actually have the amplifier built into the microphone, and you can adjust the gain on some USB microphones. On this, I know you can. There's a little slider. This is the Shure MV7. On some, you can't. On some, there's like a built-in like auto gain feature, which kind of adjust based on how loud you're projecting. It's kind of like an auto gain that goes up and down, but that's more or less how gain works. And there's going to be a control if you are using audio interface or mixer. And on some USB mics, there's also going to be a control to dial it up and down. Now, volume is a little bit different. So I could be talking at the same level just right here, but the volume that I hear myself in my headphones is a totally different thing. So I could crank the volume up, like now I'm hearing myself super loud in my headphones, or I could turn it all the way down and now I can't hear myself at all in my headphones, but I haven't actually changed the amount of power in the microphone or the gain in the microphone. So volume is just at like the level that you hear things. And that can be personalized if you like to hear yourself loud or if you like to hear yourself quiet, but it's just 2 terms that tend to get mixed up. And I want to talk about gain and how to dial in the right amount of gain so that your voice sounds full, it sounds robust, it sounds beefy, and you're not getting a lot of like ambient noise in your recording. So as a general rule, you want a nice, healthy gain level. You don't want it to be so quiet that your voice is being recorded at like a super low level. Like here, I just adjusted the gain. You can probably barely hear me, although I'm talking at the same level. And now I'm going to put it back up to kind of where I like it. You're going to need some kind of metering. If you're recording into like audio software, it's a bit difficult to do it without that because you're going to want to see your leveling. And you're going to want it to peak at, let's say, like, as a general rule, that everyone online says between minus 6 decibels and minus 12 decibels as a general rule. And if you're looking at like an audio meter, you'll see from the bottom, there's numbers that start to go up. And when you get to 0, here, my gain is exceeding 0 on my meter. And so it sounds blown out. It sounds like it's, they call that clipping. It induces distortion and basically like you're overpowering the amp and it's creating that sound. But if you're peaking at like, let's say minus 12 to minus 6, or if you don't have a meter that has numbers, it kind of goes like this. It's like green, it's kind of like stoplights actually, whereas like green, it means go. Like you can kind of crank your level up even more, like keep going. It's not at an optimal point. When it gets to yellow, it's kind of like, oh, you might want to slow down. It's probably like right in that zone before you need to stop, which is red. When the signal's red, it's way too hot. It's way too loud. And if you're using like audio recording software, chances are you're going to be able to meter this. And there's numbers associated with green, yellow, and red. But let's make it easy. Don't even worry about the numbers. I would say you want your signal to be just kind of hitting the level of yellow. So green, go a little bit. Yellow, slow down, probably stop on the gain knob. Red, way too loud. You're going to start clipping. And green, if you don't go loud enough, it's just going to sound really quiet. And you want to dial it in with your headphones so you can hear, because sometimes if there's some real quiet ambient noise in the room and you crank the gain just a little bit and get close to your microphone, your voice will overcome that ambient noise. And so you'll get a clean signal. However, you've got to be careful when you dial it in, because if you go too loud, sometimes the microphone and the room noise will even get amplified even louder, and you'll be able to hear that noise even more. So you want to get that sweet spot where you're talking into the mic like so, and you are overpowering some of that noise without raising that noise up. That's called the noise floor. Is like if I'm just sit here quiet, it looks like my signal without me speaking into it, just with the microphone on, with the gain set to where it was hovering right around all the way at the bottom, minus like 55, minus 60 decibels, barely audible. That's called the noise floor. And so that's just the sound of my room. There's noise from like a little bit outside. The electronics in here, the speakers and the lights and everything produce like noise frequencies. And so that's what that is. So basically, you want an optimal ratio of the sound that you want, your desired sound, which is going to be your voice for your podcast, with the least amount of ambient or auxiliary noise, external noise. That's your signal to noise ratio. And to achieve that, you've got to wear headphones. I speak about this ad nauseum. Wear your headphones so you can hear yourself and you can hear your microphone, and then you can dial in that gain to get that clean level where the majority of what you're hearing is your voice without that ambient noise. But you got to be careful, because you crank it too high, you might start clipping. Your signal might start going into the red. If you're too low, you're going to get more of that noise and less of your voice. And so it's all kind of a game where you're playing around to dial in that healthy signal as full and rich as you can without the noise. And so you're going to have to play around. You want to achieve like the optimal sound going in, they call it, like into your recording, because then it's less work editing, mixing. You've already got like a pretty good sound. They say shit in, shit out. That's like an audio industry term. If it sounds like shit going in, it's going to sound like shit on the way out, or i.e. the final product's going to sound like shit. And so hopefully you have a better understanding of what gain is versus volume, and how to dial that gain in correctly so you achieve that optimal sound. And volume, hey, how loud do you want to hear yourself? Or when you listen to your podcast on your mobile device or on your computer, when you're wearing headphones, you crank up the volume of the overall episode, or you can crank it down. But that's not going to affect the level that you recorded your voice at, or that the level that, like, the strength of your microphone when recording your episode. So I'm out, guys. Hopefully you got a better understanding of what gain is versus what volume is. I know this episode was a little heady or maybe a little more technical. So for those of you that are into it, perfect. Love it. Those of you that aren't, oh well, there'll be others. And I'm Eric. This is Clipped. Keep listening, keep engaging, keep creating. I'm out.